Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack SPerry. Today in Ashburn, Virginia, Commanders OTAs opened up in the bubble. It was raining outside, so Dan Quinn got the players kind of huddled up there in the bubble in Ashburn. Today I'm going to be letting you guys know all the different takeaways that we got from the press conferences. Kliff Kingsbury talked to the media today. Dan Quinn, the head coach, talked to the media today. Jayden Daniels talked to the media today. We got some nice little nuggets from practice that I want to share with you guys on today's edition of the show. But before we get into it here, subscribe for daily Commanders OTA updates. If you guys want to know who's performing well, who's not, how are the positional battles going, how are the rookies looking, all these different things, we're going to have those daily updates for you guys on this channel. So if you guys want in-depth and informative Commanders coverage every single day here on YouTube, click that subscribe button and join our family for that. Okay, now my first takeaway from OTAs is the people that were absent. Okay, and we kind of expected Terry McLaurin, the wide receiver, to not be there because he's currently in a contract dispute with the team. He's currently trying to get paid a new contract extension. Laremy Tunsil, the newly added left tackle, Commanders gave up quite a bit for him. He was not there at voluntary workouts today. And then Marshon Lattimore, the cornerback, the player that the Commanders traded for last year at the deadline, was also not present in Ashburn this afternoon. But guys, all three of these guys are veterans. I've been saying it on the show for weeks. I'm not worried about the Terry McLaurin contract situation. I do think that the team will come to terms with the veteran wide receiver at some point this offseason. Tunsil never shows up to voluntary workouts. He really hasn't his entire career, so that's nothing new with him. And then Marshon Lattimore, he's a longtime veteran in this league, and so these things are voluntary, right? So if players feel like that they've got other things that they want to attend to, if they want to work out on their own still, and they can get more value from that in doing that instead of being with the team, then I really have no problem with that as long as they're there for mandatory minicamp in a couple of weeks. Then we get to my second takeaway here, which is that Kliff Kingsbury wanted Josh Conerly Jr. Now, this was kind of known, but we kind of learned today, we learned during the draft week, that Kliff Kingsbury actually stopped by the office of Commanders GM Adam Peters and gave him a note on draft day saying to take the tackle out of Oregon, which of course ended up being Josh Conerly Jr., who fell to them at the end of the first round in the 2025 NFL draft. And this is what Kliff Kingsbury had to say about why he prioritized building up the offensive line with the Commanders this year. You see in our division, the team who just won the whole thing, the Eagles, they built it starting up front to try and keep up with those type teams. You got to continue to do that and stock that room. And I think that the Commanders' approach to building up the offensive line has been a good one. Now, you can make some arguments about how well they've constructed the defensive line on the defensive trenches, but on the offensive trenches, this has been a big problem for the Washington Commanders for a very, very long time. And this offseason, they really did something about it. They went out and got a legitimate franchise left tackle and Laremy Tunsil on the first day of free agency. They drafted Josh Conerly Jr. and spent a first-round draft pick on a premium draft asset there at right tackle. They spent a pretty high draft pick on Brandon Coleman the year prior. They brought in Tyler Biotis the year prior. All these different things that they have done to bring in quality offensive line talent. This is the best that the offensive line has looked in years. And when Sam Cosmi comes back from that ACL injury, this is going to be the best version of the Commanders' offensive line that we have seen in a very long time. So I absolutely think Kliff, Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, they have it right here when it comes to getting the offensive line correct, especially with a very prized possession under center in Jayden Daniels, but we'll get to him later in today's show. Then we get to Josh Conerly Jr. again here, guys, and something else that we learned today is that he is going to have to earn everything that he gets in terms of playing opportunities this year. They did say Laremy Tunsil is locked and loaded as their starting left tackle. I think that Tunsil's standing in the NFL has certainly earned him that right to be named the starting left tackle already. But in terms of the right tackle spot, the Commanders made it abundantly clear. I think both Kliff and DQ both made it clear. Like, Brandon Coleman could still be the starting right tackle for this team heading into next year. Could still be Andrew Wiley. It is going to be a competition, and it's going to be best man wins at that position to see who's going to be on the other side of the offensive line there at right tackle. Now, I do think Conerly has a really good chance of winning that job. I think that you can make an argument he's the best overall player between him, Andrew Wiley, and Brandon Coleman But it certainly seems like the rookie out of Oregon is going to have to earn his stripes every step of the way, which is exactly the way it should be. Then we get to more offensive line news here, where head coach Dan Quinn gave an update on the injury status of Sam Cosmi, who's currently rehabbing after an ACL injury he suffered late last season. And according to Quinn, Cosmi's hitting quote-unquote all the markers and is doing quote-unquote excellent in his rehab. So that's good news. It's always good to hear that, somebody coming off a very serious injury is doing a good job getting back onto the field. Now, he didn't offer any timetable or any expectations as to when he's going to get back on the field. But, I do think it's going to be, sometime after a quarter of the season. I don't expect him to be ready for week one or anything like that. I don't expect him to participate in training camp. I do expect somebody else to be the starting right guard when this team plays the New York Football Giants in week one. But certainly good to hear, and it is good news that Sam Cosmi's rehab is going well at this point. So show some love to Sam Cosmi down there in the comments section. Spam those 76s, his number, down there in the comments section to show him some love. Hopefully, he's a very, very important part of this offense. As arguably, maybe Laramie Tunsil's better than him now, but he's been the best offensive lineman here in Washington for a very, very long time, and we really hope he makes a full and speedy recovery. So if you're with me on that, spam those 76s down there in the comments. All right, now let's look to Deebo Samuel. We got his first look today at practice with his helmet on. Of course, OTAs is kind of the portion here where the helmets go on. And, so much for Deebo Samuel looking like a fat piece of shit. That's all I heard during Super Bowl week is, he looks fat, he looks out of shape, all that stuff. Stomach looks pretty slim and, kind of cut to me there. He's looking really strong. Those legs are looking good. No homo, but Deebo Samuel's looking pretty darn good out there right now, guys, and I think he looks damn good in that number 1 jersey. And if you guys want to be looking good in that number 1 jersey as well, you can get his jersey from our friends at Fanatics. Just go to chatsports.com/Deebo and pick up a Deebo Samuel Commanders jersey today. I think he's going to be rocking that number 1 all the way to 1,000+ yards from scrimmage this year. If you are with me on that, do you think he's going to be a dynamic receiving weapon for the Washington Commanders this year? Go to chatsports.com/Deebo and pick up your Deebo jersey today. When it came to practice, I thought rookie Trey Amos was the one that stood out to me the most, and he stole the show. Now, Trey is somebody that I expect to be the starting, number 2 corner for this defense right away, starting in week 1. And today he really, put his stamp on the practice. Marshawn Lattimore not there. He got a lot of opportunities out there during the O&D periods, and he had an interception today and nearly had another. He had another pass breakup. So his instincts and his physical attributes, his long arms, his physicality, it's already showing up, even though, it's just practice in shorts and it doesn't really matter all that much. Then you get to Jayden Daniels here, and he really stressed his comfortability inside Kliff Kingsbury's offense heading into his second year in the National Football League. And that really is the big step, right? A first-year quarterback coming in, it's a lot of information to take in. And for Jayden to play as well as he did and to look as comfortable as he did last year and with as much poise as he played with, leading this team to an NFC Championship game, it was super, super impressive. And, another thing that people are talking about with Jayden is that he looks noticeably thicker this year in a good way. The nice little addition with the parentheses there. But he is looking like he has put on some weight here. And Kliff Kingsbury even said it's very noticeable. And even his arm strength seems to be a little bit stronger this year. So that's all good news there. Jayden has definitely been putting in the work this offseason. He is a maniacal worker, which is one of the reasons why Commanders fans are extremely lucky to have him as their franchise quarterback. Then speaking of Jayden Daniels here, sophomore slump, never met her, man, because Jayden Daniels I don't think is going to suffer from the same curse that C.J. Stroud did last year, especially because of that investment that the Commanders made on the offensive line that we talked about earlier in today's show. Last year, Houston's offensive line was a complete disaster, and that was one of the reasons why C.J. Stroud struggled, is because he had a little bit of pocket trauma playing behind that offensive line. Jayden Daniels, if anything, he's going to look even more comfortable back there because he got Laramie Tunsil protecting his blind side. I think Josh Conerly Jr. is going to hit the ground running at right tackle, and I think the interior is the best that it's been in a while here in Washington as well. And then if things do break down, Jayden showed last year he has the poise and the pocket presence to shift in the pocket, know when to escape, know when to use his legs, know when to escape the pocket and become a scrambler. Like, I think that, when it comes to having a year of tape on somebody and then finding out their weaknesses, Jayden Daniels is going to be one of the more tougher players to be able to do that to because of his ability to run the football, because of his playmaking ability out of structure, because of his pocket presence. He just combines so many unstoppable traits to his game that, honestly, having that year of tape on him and to game plan for him, I just don't know how effective it's going to be for NFL defensive coordinators this year because he is a game-wrecking presence. So true or false? Let me know down there in the comments section. Jayden Daniels will be solidified as a top 5 NFL quarterback this year. Give me a T if you think that's true, or type F if you think that's going to be false. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. This is just day 1 of our OTA coverage here. We're going to have more takeaways, more developments happening throughout the OTA program here over the next several weeks. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button to never miss a news story.